How will President Trump's tariffs affect global trade relations? Could these actions reshape economic alliances, particularly with the European Union, Mexico, and China? And more crucially, how will these tariffs impact the American economy, consumers, and businesses? Since taking office on January 20, 2025, President Donald Trump has swiftly implemented a series of tariffs targeting key U.S. trading partners, notably Canada, Mexico, and China. These measures are part of his administration's broader strategy to address illegal immigration, drug trafficking, and trade imbalances. On his first day in office, President Trump announced a 25% tariff on all imports from Canada and Mexico. This decision was justified by the administration as a necessary step to combat illegal immigration and the influx of drugs, particularly fentanyl, into the United States. These tariffs, slated to take effect on February 1, 2025, have already sparked strong opposition from the Canadian government. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau expressed concern, stating that such measures would harm the Canadian economy, as well as negatively affect American consumers and businesses. Trudeau emphasized the importance of maintaining a strong economic partnership between the two nations and indicated that Canada would explore retaliatory measures if necessary. Similarly, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum criticized the tariffs, arguing that they would not effectively address the issues of immigration and drug trafficking. She highlighted the need for collaborative efforts between the U.S. and Mexico to tackle these complex problems and warned that the tariffs could strain diplomatic relations between the two countries. In addition to actions against North American neighbors, President Trump has proposed a 10% tariff on all imports from China, citing concerns over the country's role in the production and distribution of fentanyl. This tariff, like the ones against Canada and Mexico, is also set to commence on February 1, 2025. The Chinese government has responded, emphasizing the mutual benefits of U.S.-China trade relations and expressing hope for constructive dialogue to resolve trade disputes. The tension between the U.S. and its major trading partners has become a significant aspect of President Trump's economic policy. In his bid to address trade imbalances, President Trump has even warned the European Union of potential tariffs if the bloc does not increase its purchases of American oil and gas. Trump has insisted that the EU must reduce its trade deficit with the U.S. by making substantial energy purchases. If not, he threatened to impose tariffs on European imports. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen expressed concern over these threats, cautioning that such actions could fracture the global economy and lead to a race to the bottom in international trade. She stressed the importance of maintaining strong economic bonds and suggested that the EU was willing to negotiate to preserve trade relations and avoid economic disruption. The EU, already facing escalating tensions with the U.S. due to energy crises caused by geopolitical issues, is now dealing with a progressively unstable energy landscape. The recent sanctions on Russian oil and gas, combined with gas price hikes, have put further pressure on the EU's economic stability. As global energy prices soar, public dissatisfaction within the EU has been growing, with inflation continuing to burden economies throughout the continent. President Trump's decision to impose additional tariffs on European products has exacerbated tensions. The EU is now grappling with the delicate balance of maintaining trade relations with the U.S. while safeguarding its own economic interests. These actions are set to have long-term effects on the EU economy, potentially worsening the region's already fragile economic state. In response, the EU has accelerated efforts to diversify its global trade partnerships, reducing its dependence on U.S. trade. The EU has signed several free trade agreements to strengthen its economic position in the face of potential U.S. tariffs. One such agreement, finalized on January 17, 2025, is with Mexico, which has been seen as a strategic move to reduce economic reliance on the U.S. This updated trade agreement between the EU and Mexico not only enhances their economic partnership, but also signals the EU's capability to build significant alliances outside U.S. influence. This agreement eliminates high tariffs on EU exports to Mexico, including agricultural goods like cheese, poultry, pork, pasta, apples, jams, chocolate, and wine. it is expected to significantly boost EU agri-food exports. Moreover, the agreement provides EU businesses with better access to Mexican government contracts and investments in sectors such as financial services and telecommunications. These provisions ensure that EU firms are treated equally with other favored trade partners, such as the US and South Korea. The agreement also includes enforceable commitments on labor rights and environmental protections, underscoring both parties' commitment to sustainable development. Lastly, it aims to bolster the supply chain of essential raw materials, ensuring a sustainable and secure supply for various industries. As the EU continues to bolster its trade relations with Mexico, it has also secured a groundbreaking free trade deal with the Mercosur countries, Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, and Uruguay. After 25 years of negotiations, this deal will create one of the world's largest free trade zones, covering over 700 million people and nearly 25% of global GDP. The EU-Mercosur trade agreement removes tariffs on over 90% of goods traded between the two blocs, potentially saving EU companies around €4 billion annually in export duties. EU industries such as automobiles and chemicals will gain better access to Mercosur markets, while South American agricultural products like beef and poultry will enjoy increased access to the EU market, subject to specific quotas. Both parties have agreed to uphold the Paris Climate Agreement and take measures to prevent deforestation by 2030. The deal also includes dispute resolution mechanisms to enforce these commitments. However, the agreement faces resistance within the EU, particularly from farmers and environmental organizations. Critics contend that the influx of South American agricultural products could harm European farmers and raise environmental concerns. French President Emmanuel Macron has voiced strong reservations, seeking additional safeguards to ensure the agreement's sustainability. For the agreement to take effect, it must be ratified by all 27 EU member states and approved by the European Parliament. Given the existing opposition, especially from countries with significant agricultural sectors, the ratification process may face hurdles and could take several years. In the context of these evolving trade dynamics, the historical relationship between the US and Europe offers important context for understanding the current tensions. After World War II, the US played a crucial role in shaping the post-war international order. The Marshall Plan, introduced in 1948, provided vital financial aid to war-damaged European nations, stabilizing their economies and encouraging regional cooperation. The U.S. also supported the creation of the European Coal and Steel Community in 1951, which aimed to prevent future conflicts between France and Germany by integrating key industries. In 1954, the EU's precursor established its delegation in Washington, D.C., further cementing the growing economic ties between Europe and the U.S. The relationship deepened with the creation of the U.S. mission to the European communities in Brussels in 1961, symbolizing a mutual commitment to fostering political and economic cooperation. However, the current climate, marked by escalating tensions and competing trade interests, underscores how much has changed since those early days of collaboration. Now, the European Union faces the challenge of navigating the geopolitical and economic pressures created by a second Trump presidency, all while trying to protect its interests and assert its global influence. In conclusion, the tariffs imposed by President Trump on key U.S. trading partners are reshaping global trade relations and challenging long-standing economic alliances. As the U.S. faces resistance from Canada, Mexico, China, and the European Union, it remains to be seen how these tensions will affect both the U.S. and the global economy. While the EU and other partners seek to diversify their trade relationships, the future of U.S. foreign policy and trade practices will have a lasting impact on international relations and economic stability. The repercussions of these decisions will unfold in the coming years as countries navigate the complexities of trade diplomacy and economic security.